The question today is, how are you minding your own business? Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Minding Your Own Business. I'm Victoria, and I'm your host. And today we have Sydney on the podcast. Hi, babe.
Nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God, I'm so happy that we're finally doing this.
I know.
I think we've been trying to schedule this for months.
I know. And also, apologies. It's been months since we were able to connect. I feel like that's just the New York life. So I'm glad to be doing it here on camera in front of the whole world.
I know, me too. Well, it's one of those like, hey, where are you? Oh, I'm in California. Sorry, where are you? Oh, I'm in Europe. My bad.
I do have an international team, so that plays into it.
Right. That's what we all say when we need a trip
you gotta
to
make
Spain.
it work around what you want. So.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on today, guys. We are in for such a treat. Sydney is the founder and CEO of Pivota Marketing, which is a boutique agency specializing in helping real estate companies build scalable, relationship-driven brands. She's based between the US and Madrid, hence our joke about Spain. And she spent the last 12 years creating content and systems that support sustainable growth for both her clients and her team. She also loves to read and write, and she's in the process of, you heard it here first, writing her own book, her first book, which is super exciting. What kind of genre is the book going to be about?
Yeah, so it's going to be fiction, but it's based off of my life. So it's kind of one of those things, but it's been in the works since college. I've had this idea.
Right.
So this is the year that I'm dedicating the time to it.
Oh my gosh. So like on top of being a founder, CEO, serving clients, you're also an author. That's amazing.
We're trying to get there.
Again, another example of being multi-hyphenate, but let's circle back. Like, guys, the way that I met Sydney is really funny.
It's a great story.
And it's such a good story. I'm going to let you tell it to the audience today.
So basically what happened was we were interviewing for a role. I had this gut feeling like her work looks so good, but I had this gut feeling that something wasn't right. So of course I went through her like resume, past work experience, and I found your name. You were not even one of the references she had given me.
I know.
And that's part of the story because I connect on LinkedIn and I'm like, hi, so random. Do you have a quick 5 minutes? And you did, and we talked, and you're like, I'm shocked she listed me as a reference because we didn't have the best work experience. I kind of had to chase her down and this and that. And that was exactly what I was like worried about. Long story short, made a great friend, did not hire the person. We found someone else who was amazing, but did not hire her. And very thankful though that I, kind of scooped things out and found you out of this whole experience.
Yeah, I think it's so crazy when anyone I speak to is going through like this hiring process. Look, I've been in recruiting for almost my entire managerial career when I worked in corporate and when I went off and started my own company. Great people just make your job so much easier as a leader of an organization. Whether you own your own business or you're leading a team, having someone that doesn't do their job well creates a cancer in your culture, and building great culture is important. So I think what's really critical, especially in this time where it's so easy to just mass supply, but there's so many like job shortages and layoffs, and the industry is just changing so rapidly. People don't realize what lengths hiring managers go to find out who you are. Like checking your social media has been happening. It's been happening since the MySpace days. And for those of you who think that like recruiters don't go on your socials, like if you are Googleable, we will look because we want to just know who you are as a whole person, what your character is like. But they also call your previous employers. Like when you called me, I was so shocked that I was a reference. Turns out I wasn't. You were just a really good sleuther and like you did your due diligence, but you ended up not hiring that individual. And that's unfortunate. I don't know if you go through this, but like I really struggle sometimes when I know someone has good intentions, but their work quality isn't there. But I always tried my best to explain both sides of what I see in someone. But then there's also times where, there's these employees that unfortunately situations happen and they just don't hold up the end of the bargain. And you have to let people go and you have to have these tough conversations. And I think that's something in business lately where we're seeing so many people get laid off because of pivots and budget constraints and industry shifts. Like, how do you as a business owner kind of navigate these really challenging waters of hiring, staffing, and scaling a business in the middle of all of that?
I would say hiring and scaling with my team was always one of my biggest challenges. And that's actually one of the first conversations that we touched base on in person. I mean, like a cute little West Village coffee shop.
Yeah.
And luckily, it's not a problem I have currently. I'm young. As I was scaling my business, felt, especially as like a woman, unsure of boundaries. I was friendly with a lot of these people. I felt like I owed them things. I wanted to do things in this new way of working. I've never worked corporate. So that also didn't add to my understanding. I was kind of paving my own path of what I wanted. And sometimes you expect, if I wouldn't have treated, this person this way, or, so it's like, it's creating this company that I would be happy to work at. But I think I forget that not everyone's like me. And some of the things that have happened in the past really created some really mismatched work balance dynamics. And I, a few years ago, basically cleaned up shop, kind of released a lot of people, had some, not some great experiences, and have completely new boundaries and ways of dealing with things. Now, that's not to say, you were saying earlier that, sometimes, it's just not the right fit. And I truly think that in those situations, it's not the right fit on both sides. And what she was doing for you would have been really similar for what you, wanted to do for me. I think maybe she'd be better in-house, smaller, something like that. And it wouldn't have benefited either of us for her to have been in this particular situation. And I try to remember that, I'm a person, I have feelings, and it's not that I'm, I love what I do, and it's not just like work all the time. But yeah, as a business owner, you've been in situations where you have to make tough calls with people you enjoy being around. And it's not fun. And I do a quick little meditation the morning of kind of just clear my schedule so that I could be fully present in how I want to show up during that conversation. Cause it's not fun for me either, but that is just one of the things that we have to deal with as business owners.
I mean, I don't think anyone really likes performance conversations.
Right.
I think something that you shared was, I've never had a corporate job.
Yeah.
And I think that's really fascinating because you're a couple years younger than me. We won't say how much. But that age gap career-wise actually is very fascinating to me because the age gap that you and I have also shows the shift in work culture. There's so many more people working in a gig economy and in a fractional role, and that's kind of how they started their agencies because there was an opportunity. Whereas, back when I was in school, that was never even a conversation. The gig economy was not even a word. So how did you walk, let's rewind a second. How did you start your journey? And then when did you realize okay, this is a thing, this is its living, breathing organism. Pivota now has its own personality and humans that I'm responsible for. How did that start?
So it was a happy accident, and I get asked this during interviews all the time when I'm interviewing to hire, and it was honestly a happy accident. I started working with an investment company my freshman year of college. I just wanted to make more money. It was my friend from childhood's dad. She also went to college with me, and he was the CEO. And so I did social media, tweeting, helped them go public. I'm like, I like this. This is easy. I'm good at this. And I did that for a few years until about junior year. Took a little bit of a break, went abroad, wanted to be fully present abroad. And that's kind of how I started. I've always had this mentality for I need to be outside the US. I need to explore. I need to visit. I need to learn. And so when I went abroad, took a little bit of a break, but that summer before going into senior year, my uncle set me up with a team at his brokerage, and the rest is history. I fell into real estate, loved doing social media for them, and stayed on with them for years. And it was during the pandemic that I was like, I want to redo their website. First of all, I know I could do a better job. I would rather them, I get paid for this. I'm going to learn. I'm not going to charge them as much. I just want to learn. So created my first website for a client, learned how to do, I really wanted it to look a certain way. So I learned how to do coding and this and that. And, I, at the time I was actually abroad doing all of this during COVID and wanted to stay. Knew that I obviously had to earn money, but luckily money abroad is, especially in Madrid, is a lot different than money in New York City. So it gave me a lot of flexibility to learn what I liked doing, and started doing that full time. Found another client, a competitor of my current client, which of course asked for permission down the street, another real estate team, and was full-time doing that and kept getting referred. I was like, I'm at capacity. Someone's like, hey, why don't you hire someone? Never crossed my mind.
You're just like, I'm
Yeah.
drowning. I can't take any more clients. Wait, I can ask for help.
Yeah,
okay.
it never crossed my mind, and I'm really grateful for the person who suggested it. I think something that I've brought into my company today is impact and the ability to serve a community. And I think I worried that by hiring and having other people, I'd lose that personal touch that I get to give. And luckily, I found a way to keep it and make it work while scaling and growing a team. And, you know, along the way is still learning how to remove myself as much as possible. Definitely done like a really good job so far, but I know there's a lot of ways to go on that one.
Well, I'm so proud of you because I remember when we did meet at that coffee shop, you were going through the ringer with hiring. You were short staffed. You were struggling with the staff that you did have and training. And I think a lot of business owners, I speak for myself as well, we go through this, well, can I afford to make this hire? And if I make this hire, what's the impact going to be if they don't work out, right? Because you're trusting them with the experience that your clients give, and you're no longer in every single moment that they engage with your client. So training them not just from the ability to execute on their skill set, but more of their bedside manner and their attitude and their way of like handling challenging moments with clients when you're not in the room. And that's really hard. So how do you go about teaching your team and like cascading that culture and that feeling and that personal touch that has become what your company is now known for?
Yeah. So, and also when we had that conversation, it was about a year ago, there was 3 of us and now we're 10. So it's really multiplied.
So cool. And they're all based in Madrid, right?
They're all based in Madrid. Yeah. So it's a mix of like Americans, Madrileños, like really a mix. Everyone's pretty international, and I hire values based. So everyone's really, I would say, similar. I forget that people aren't like American. But yeah. Just to kind of answer your question, you know, when interviewing and when talking to people, being values-based, I think has really changed the game for me. It allows for execution and even how I work with, like client side. Having aligned values is what takes my team so much farther than just someone who could execute, just like you were saying. So when, you know, hiring and training and doing all of that stuff, first of all, I've completely changed my onboarding process since last year. It is 2 weeks intensive. There is like all these trainings I have to hit. This was like recently, last few months, there's a whole checklist over the first 90 days that they have to meet. I think in agency life, I read a stat somewhere that about 50% of people just, you know, it doesn't fit in the first 90 days. So if I get 50, I'm happy. So I kind of expect we try to hire in groups of 2 now so that we kind of hedge our odds. And if they're not meeting these points that are pretty general, like, are they stepping in and questioning what we're doing? Are they giving you suggestions? And it's more of that strategic thinking that I need to expect from people to last long term and to remove myself, have managers be, you know, less involved once they're fully onboarded. But that's really helped because, you know, we like people. That's part of the thing. And sometimes we like the wrong people for the role. This checklist has really opened up our eyes. And also, since it's very transparent with what we're expecting, I think it also maybe saves people that maybe weren't the right fit without having these expectations in place to begin with.
I love that you said valued-based hires because I think to your point, like you can have the best personality. I can really adore you as a human. I would love to spend time with you and go shopping with you and grab lunch. But it doesn't mean that you're going to show up at work on time and hit your deliverables without me having to give you multiple rounds of feedback, or it doesn't show me how you pivot and how you learn from your mistakes and do better, right? And I think that there's definitely this beauty of like being able to control that for your own business. And I know for myself, as I've worked in corporate long before I even started my own company. But my biggest pain point was always like, onboarding is terrible. Like you're just thrown to the wolves, figure it out. Here's a bunch of checklists. And then you're not set up for success. So the fact that you're so diligent at investing in the beginning, even if it's just to discover that someone's the wrong fit, I personally think actually saves you a lot of money in the long haul.
Oh, if I had this in place even like 6 months ago, I would have such a higher MRR. It's so crazy how, I mean, we're at 10 right now, how one person, and I also I want independence. I want people to feel like they have the impact within their own role. And if that one person just isn't, even if it's not like they're horrible, but if they're not good, really good, then it makes a big impact on our work, and it affects everyone else on the team too. When you're so small, I mean, other managers might have to step in, or other content creators. And it also just creates this precedent of, we accept that. And that's also something that's hard to lean into. It's like, okay, how do I coach people through these things? And I try to help my managers do this too with the people that they manage, but how can you expect things out of them in a respectful way that nurtures them to become, even a better worker, whether it's at your agency or another agency down the line? And I think my first manager that I hired since all the transition, I just saw something in her on day one. She was promoted to manager in like a week, maybe. I don't know. She could say, but I saw something in her, and it's sometimes like an attitude that just some people have. But the truth is, I think everyone carries that on my team in their own way.
I think that's amazing. And I think sometimes as many systems as you want to put in place, ultimately, like, we're all humans, and we have this intuition of, this is the person. Like, there's just something about her. Yeah. If I just give her space and I really nurture her, she's going to show up and be really powerful. Yeah. And I think that's amazing. I kind of wanted to jump into this whole idea of like hiring in a global economy. COVID really sped that up. I think before COVID hit, this idea of being able to hire anywhere in the world was very much for like Fiverr and Gigster and like really small things. But now we're seeing this whole shift of finding labor and the market value of the labor in that geographic part of the world as a way to boost the economy here in the US. How did you make a decision to hire in Madrid? And how did you really take that into the economics of running your business?
So another happy accident. I just was living in Spain, and when I was looking at what my personal values are and the values I wanted to carry into the company, community was huge. I loved that Madrid was international. People were from all over the world. And so I had a big base in Madrid. But after that, I was like, let's hire interns out of Romania or anywhere. Like, I wanted to keep it really global. And I did run into a few issues. And so what I've personally learned, and this is just what works well for my company, how we operate, is communities are important. No matter if they're remote, community is super important. And so I nixed hiring outside of Madrid, and now everyone's in Madrid. And my next step in all of this is I want to be even more global than Madrid. I'm obviously in New York now. I decided to move back, but I wanted to keep that community aspect in Madrid. And so we are going to be expanding US, hopefully very soon, for sure by the end of this year. And I'm between 3 cities, so I'll have to, like you said earlier, I have to make my way to Austin soon to scope that one out. But I pretty much decided between 3 cities, and I will grow a community out of that new city as well.
So when you say community, my understanding based on what you're describing as far as like building this work culture where you can work internationally, we work on a global scale as a team, but then you can still go into an office and see your coworker and like bounce ideas and have this feeling of, let's go to happy hour. I think a lot of people really miss those coffee breaks or those happy hours or those moments to like build the loyalty to one another. Because I personally, I've been working remotely for 5 years. It's so clinical sometimes. If I have a stacked calendar, it's like, hey, we're overtime. What's the agenda? Great. How are you? Niceties, 2 seconds.
Robotic.
And I'm out. And I noticed for myself as a leader that I felt very lonely and disconnected. And one of my practices now is like, tell me something good. What are you looking forward to today? What is one thing that lit you up, non-work related? And just asking those baby questions at the beginning of meetings or when I'm rounding out the day, or even booking hangout time, like co-working time with my remote team has changed the dynamics of the relationships. And when I have an SOS or when I have a client needing something with, sometimes it's an unreasonable turnaround time. And we all know we all,
and we know the clients will do it for.
We do. And I just remember I had a recent situation, and I'm sure you can relate to this. We were having a huge go-to-market launch. I was in Portugal. My lead designer was in Brazil. We had hired a production team, and they just really dropped the ball. The quality of the launch video was not anywhere where it needed to be. And I just remember sitting there going, well, I think I have to do it. And she saw the whole spam light up and texted me, was 11 p.m. and I just got back from dinner. I saw the messages. Do you need me? And it was never a question of like, do I have to? It was very much her reaching out. I would never call someone at 11 o'clock. Right? I was just kind of like, I guess I have to do it. We stayed up all night. We were up till 8 in the morning.
Oh, I've been in that.
We crushed this. It was like a multi-million-dollar campaign. Yeah. But the fact that she said, do you need me? Right. Also just showed me like, wow, okay. Like I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
For
great
people
leadership
to do that.
too on her end.
Right. Exactly. And so I'm curious for you, how are you building your community to kind of foster some of those feelings? And do you have any great stories like that?
Yeah. So in terms of fostering my community, like I think, we're all young in our mid to late 20s. And so they love when I come in town, we do like photo shoots and things like that. Now I have 2 managers and they're responsible for, they have budgets for doing in-person time. So I think, with digital marketing, people do expect to be working remote for the most part.
Yes.
And so I have no problem with that. I do some of my best work, like in my zone, in my house. Like I love that. But I think there's that, like we were talking about that, you need community to feel connected, to want to do your best work, to show up for a client. So, even like this morning, I woke up to a notification, credit card charged at like 6 a.m. at the coffee shop in Madrid. And so, I think like I really create this environment. First of all, I think because we hire values-based, people just for the most part, really like each other. Yeah. It's not forced. It's not hard. And then, they have their own relationships with each other. I've definitely had problems with that in the past. And that was, I think, when I had a lack of like my own boundaries and things like that. But just in terms of, with creating a community and a culture, I think it's just fostering events that first of all match the community. Like in Madrid, getting like drinks, like, when I was in town, we had lunch. I'm like, let's order the wine. It's not necessarily as big of a drinking culture in the United States, but in Spain, like learning the room. How do people communicate? One of the things I liked most, and I think have carried into my work is in Madrid, you would never, if I met you, I would never ask you what you do for work. It's not a conversation at the forefront. You might learn after a few times of meeting someone. And work is very much so something that happens, outside of your day-to-day life. It's like a means to just a happy life, to just have the money to support you, but it's not your identity. It's not who you are. And I think that, since moving to New York, I've taken what I love about that mentality, which is like, there's more to life than work. And I think at the same time, we're both very driven, passionate people. I get so much purpose out of what I do. And so having that balance has been, I think just from living in different places, having that balance is what it has given me and even just my company and the direction that it's going in, exactly what it needs to balance, like, okay, like what is urgent? Yeah. What is urgent? And respecting boundaries with like, I will only text my team in case of emergencies, or if it's, urgent, I try to be mindful with the difference of hours. I do ask that everyone works Eastern time just so that we're all aligned. Yep. There's definitely been a few issues where like our tech guy, in the past before I had this would post something or, fix the problem. And then it would break while the client's sleeping at 3 a.m., but we couldn't have known. And, so working with different time zones too, I think, having that mandate, okay, we're working Eastern. I know that's not always fun for everyone, but in Madrid, it's 9 p.m. dinner is there, so that's, no problem.
Yeah. I love that you talk about that because I also work with a global team. Yeah. The common thing is Vic doesn't sleep. And I always tell people, wait, hold on. I sleep 7 hours every night, Monday through Friday at least, because I'm very grumpy. And anyone like in my personal life will tell you I need to sleep. Yeah. But what happens is I'm willing to wake up early. I'm willing to be on the 5 a.m. with Europe because I understand I'm accommodating client needs, but I don't do it every day. Right. And I think sometimes when people think, oh, it's so hard to hire globally, I think my advice that I give people is understand their values, what motivates them, and then have your own boundaries and respect theirs. Not everyone's on 24/7, right? If you're willing to wake up early or you're willing to work late at night, respect the fact that, those are a different time zone. Everyone's accustomed. If I'm working with Asia, there's a whole nuance to how they're going to give me feedback. They're not going to be directly upset with me. They're not going to be forthright. So if I'm that way with them, then it's very disrespectful. Yeah. And so if anyone's listening to this and you're thinking about hiring globally, I actually highly recommend it. It's highly, I love it. All my team is in Portugal, Venezuela. We have people in Mexico. We have people in Korea, Dubai. Like we work with a global team. And what's that actually taught me, it's actually furthered my education. It's like I got an international master's of experience now because the books that I'm ordering and I'm listening to are, well, how to understand Eastern Asian business mechanics. What does that look like? How do I have these conversations so I'm not accidentally disrespecting someone? Or European culture is very much, like you mentioned, let's get wine, let's do this, let's go out, let's eat. We don't talk about work at dinner. Whereas if you go to an American work function, it's all, what do you do? How are you doing that? How to teach me your ways, or what are the tools that you use? And so it's really important to like bear that in mind. And I love to hear that you're able to really focus on building this global team that still is aligned and has so many commonalities despite the time difference and the distance that it takes to get to one another.
And truly, I think it's no different than, so I work in real estate with people all over the United States. And, you know, I have clients in the South and then like every part of the US. And you could tell like my New York clients straight to it. No, like, hi, how are you? How's your day? It's like, we're doing this, we're doing it now. And it's like the pleasantries aren't important. And I think it's truly, if you are already used to working or just having calls or clients or whatever within the United States, like nationally, it's truly no different. And so, I was just telling you earlier that, you know, I had a conversation with one of my managers and she's never lived in the US. I would never have known that, right? Like it never comes up. I don't even think my clients have even thought about that once. And I was explaining to her how her little piece of copy sensed urgency. And for a client like in the South, you know, it's more like, get it to us when you can. And that's like the polite way of saying, hey, like, can you get this as soon as possible, right?
Right.
And so it's really no different. And I think it's just kind of learning, like, you know, who your clients are, who your team is, what makes them, what motivates them. And I think as much like as money might motivate someone in New York, like I'm not saying money doesn't motivate, you know, people in my team, but like I could have a very competitive salary. I need more than that. Like it needs to be community. If they're not enjoying their day, it's not worth it to them.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's so many little nuggets in everything that we've been talking about. If people wanted to get to know you a little bit more or get to understand more about your business, where can they find you online?
Yeah, so at Sydney Addis on LinkedIn and Pivota Marketing everywhere else.
Everywhere else. I love that. And should we play some rapid fire questions?
Yes. Oh gosh.
Okay. So if someone is going to buy you flowers or you were going to buy them for yourself, what kind of bouquet would they choose?
Okay, so this is a great question. I love, like when I buy it for myself, I live a block from Trader Joe's. Love the Trader Joe's lilies. Last week's. But my favorite bouquets, I like an orange, like very much aligned with my business's branding.
Yeah.
Orangey yellow roses really do it for me.
And I noticed that your nails are done. So like, what is your go-to manicure? What color are you going to pick?
So I'm loyal. I walk 40 minutes to my nail person in East Village because I'm loyal. So I actually just learned, I used to do powder. It's not healthy for your nails.
Totally not.
So now I do the hard gel. It's not gel, it's hard gel, which unfortunately is like 3 times the price, but it lasts forever.
It does. It does. And then same color, art? What's the
No,
vibe?
never arts, either a whitish pink or a red. That's it.
That's it. Keep it classic.
Yeah, that's
Sydney's
it.
very classic.
I'm very much so like a creature of habit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you were going to order food in and you didn't feel like cooking after a long day, what's your go-to?
I love Westville. It's quick, easy, cheap. Never had a problem with Westville.
Okay, so for those who are not New Yorkers, what is that? What's in the bowl?
It's like, you know, like a healthy salad, or I even get their like grilled steak with like a side, like their vegetable sides are amazing.
Yeah, they're my favorite.
But yeah, in general, either that or like, I honestly love all food. So Asian is great, but if it's a long day and I'm trying to, you know, watch what I'm eating and just like be healthier, Westville is like my guilty pleasure.
I love that. And then last question, because you work with a lot of real estate agents. Your dream house, what kind of style would it be in?
Great question. Yeah. So I think I have to first figure out where I want my house to be. I think that's like the question.
We're just dreaming. We're dreaming.
That's like the question of life. I move around so much. I have no idea where I'm going to end up because, you know, my dream might be my dream condo, depending on if I'm in a city. But I do have a dog, so like backyard would be huge no matter what it is. It's probably impossible in New York City.
Yeah.
So who knows? But backyard, huge amount in unit washer dryer.
Yes.
I feel like I moved to New York and it's just the basics that really get me nowadays. Growing up in Chicago, like we had so much space. It was so cheap, so affordable. Like everything was just new and nice and big. And I'm like, I like have a reportable washer dryer now in my like Soho walk-up pre-war building.
Yeah, I mean, we live in shoeboxes and pay a
Yeah.
premium, but it's New York.
It
so
is.
it's the life.
Wouldn't be anywhere else right now.
Right. Okay. And last question.
Yeah.
How do you mind your own business?
So I mind my own business. I think we were talking about this earlier. I think it's a mix of, balancing life, and that's not always very hard to do. But I think taking what I loved from the culture of Madrid and tying that to, my drive and like the New York part of me, it's all about balance. And I think every day I'm learning how to get better at it.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate you. And for all of you guys listening, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next Tuesday on the pod.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we did it.